China's marine capability has expanded significantly over the past 4 years, fueled by sweeping military reform and new global ambitions. We can see this in their duplication of capabilities we typically associate with the US. As potential conflict with China would most likely be fought primarily over water, developments in amphibious capabilities are among the most important. To understand the shifts in China's amphibious doctrine, you also have to understand how the geopolitical situation has changed. The key areas of note are Taiwan, the South China Sea, the Indian Ocean, and East Africa. Taiwan is the easiest to understand, as the conflict between the Communist Party of China and the Republic of China dates back almost a century. A hypothetical invasion of Taiwan and its smaller islands is one of the most traditional missions of the PLA. This mission is the main focus of the PLA Ground Forces Amphibious Combined Arms Brigades. There are 6 such brigades, all garrisoned in proximity to Taiwan. These are the 5th and 124th Brigades in Huzhou, the 14th and 91st Brigades in Tongan, and the 1st and 125th Brigades in Huizhou. They represent China's heaviest amphibious capability, composed entirely of mechanized infantry mounted in amphibious ZBD-5 infantry fighting vehicles, supported by ZLT-5 assault guns, self-propelled mortars, howitzers, and anti-aircraft artillery. To cross the strait, they'd mainly be transported in Type 271 landing ships, whose displacement varies from 600 to 800 tons depending on the variant. Although completely unsuitable for blue water operations, the Type 271 is capable of crossing the Taiwan Strait. This means a shore-to-shore journey starting at amphibious launch points on mainland China is the most likely scenario for an army invasion of Taiwan. The combination of an armored force structure and organic sea lift makes Army amphibious forces capable of contested beach landings and superior in large-scale offensive operations compared to the lighter Marine Corps, provided the target is Taiwan. But that's just it. They're a force with a singular purpose. When we look at other parts of the world, that's where the PLA Navy Marine Corps comes into its own. Following 2017 reforms, the Chinese Marine Corps consists of 6 Marine Brigades, 1 Special Operations Brigade, and 1 Aviation Brigade supporting the whole Corps. These are the 1st and 2nd Brigades in Zhenjiang, the 3rd Brigade in Xinjiang, 4th Brigade in Jiyang, 5th Brigade in Laoshan, 6th Brigade in Haiyang, and the Special Operations Brigade in Sanya. Notably, unlike the Army Amphibious Forces, Marine units are garrisoned all along the Chinese coast. In terms of mission, the South China Sea was the traditional domain of the Marine Corps. The targets here are much less intense than Taiwan. Here, a smaller, lighter, and more versatile force was necessary. Given the past decades of territorial disputes between China and 4 or 5 different countries, this is still a major point of interest for the Marine Corps. However, the other areas of interest are why the Marine Corps has over tripled in size. Expansion into the Indian Ocean and the Gulf of Aden are indicative of China's new global ambitions, fueled by strategic and economic interests in East Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. China's outward shift is exemplified through projects like the Belt and Road Initiative and a policy of neo-colonialism through infrastructure investment in Africa. This area is where China's first overseas base in Djibouti is located, a base which their Marine Corps deploys to frequently in support of anti-piracy operations off the Horn of Africa. Thus, geopolitical developments have added global power projection, humanitarian assistance, and the protection of Chinese assets abroad to the Marine Corps' mission set, very similar to the US Marine Corps. China's Marines also fulfill a secondary amphibious role supporting Army Big Island operations, but instead of being the sledgehammer, they're more of a dagger, conducting reconnaissance, raids, and capturing beachheads ahead of main Army forces. The Marines do have heavy battalions like the Army, equipped with the ZBD-5 IFV, but they also have medium infantry mounted in 8x8 ZBL-8 wheeled IFVs, which have featured prominently in their Djibouti deployments. They've also equipped at least one heavy battalion with a ZTQ-15 light tank for operations in the Xinjiang Tibet region, not a particularly relevant environment for Army amphibious units. Light battalions can also be taken ashore via helicopter, landing craft, or light boats, and fight on foot from 8x8 utility vehicles or CSK Warrior armored tactical vehicles. Marine brigades typically sport a mix of these different types of infantry battalion. Further, the Marine Special Forces and reconnaissance components have been used judiciously for anti-piracy and maritime security operations in the Gulf of Aden. This allows them to adapt deployment force structures to a specific environment, versus the Army, which is designed specifically for Taiwan action. With current PLA Navy capabilities, Janes believes the Chinese are currently capable of deploying 2 amphibious ready groups at once, carrying a total of 4 Marine battalions. This surge would require 4 of the 8 built Type 71 amphibious transports plus other supporting ships, and they'd only be able to sustain ground forces for a couple weeks. However, judging by current shipbuilding plans, by the late 2030s, the PLA Navy will likely be capable of fielding 6 amphibious ready groups, similar in composition to the US Navy's. These could consist of a Type 75 landing helicopter dock, Type 71 landing transport dock, and Type 72A landing ship, or a second Type 71. When completed, the PLA Navy could likely deploy 4 simultaneously, enough ships to carry a Marine brigade plus support. However, while these groups would look similar to a US Navy amphibious ready group, they'd be different in capability. For example, US Navy and Marine Corps helicopter aviation is a far more mature capability. Although the Chinese have created a Marine Aviation Brigade from Navy helicopter regiments to support the Marine Corps, they likely still don't have the helicopters necessary to support a large air assault operation. Air assault insertions are a major part of amphibious warfare, so a deficiency there isn't a small matter.